Okay, good evening everybody. On July the 7th, 2011, I just got back from a couple of days vacation up in Santa Barbara, California, and it's really beautiful up there. A few days of resting. I did take my trumpet with me and played a little bit one day for maybe half an hour, 40 minutes. That was about it. But I remember I used to go on vacations and would take the trumpet with me whenever I went anywhere, even to Europe one time just out of high school. I took my trumpet with me and I'd practice in the closets in the hotels over in Europe just so I could keep my chops up. And maybe that was a little crazy to worry about it so much, but at the time I just felt that's what I needed to do, and it probably was. And now since then I've heard Herseth would take his trumpet and when he'd go on vacation and he'd kick it under the bed, and I don't know if it's apocryphal or a true story or not, but he said he kicked it under the bed and he told it to stay there for 2 weeks until he got back. And when he'd get back, and then he'd play through the Top Tones book. One of the great trumpet players of all time, certainly Adolf Herseth, and one of my heroes. But my Herseth story is one time when I was in the San Antonio Symphony. It was my first job out of school. And I was playing in the San Antonio Symphony with Glenn Fischel and Tony Plogue the first year. In the second year, Glenn had left, and it was Tony and myself and another fellow, and we were going on tour, and Tony got sick and in the tour, and so it was up to me. We did Pines of Rome in the evening, and for the morning we'd play the third movement of the Brandenburg on the kiddie concerts, and so it was a good workout. But I was young and I could handle it. At least I thought I could. And the first rehearsal we had for the Brandenburg, we went through the third movement 2 times back to back, and it was a piece of cake. I thought, wow, this is great. I think I could do it. And but unfortunately, right before the first performance, I got really apprehensive and concerned and nervous, and thinking, oh, I don't think I can do this. This isn't so easy. I was practicing. It wasn't going so well. So I thought, well, I'll call Herseth because he's done this more than anybody, and so maybe he'll have some good advice for me. And I got Mrs. Herseth on the phone, and I didn't know Bud from anybody. He didn't know me, certainly. I knew Bud Herseth by name, but I'd never met him. And anyway, I got Mrs. Herseth on the phone, and I said, is Bud there? I need to talk to him. It's Bill Bing, San Antonio Symphony. And she said, well, he's busy cooking right now. Can you call back? And I said, sure. But I wanted to talk to somebody right away, so I was fortunate enough to get a hold of Frank Kaderabek, who was my teacher. And I'd studied with him when he was playing in the Detroit Symphony, and I'd worked with him in the summers. And I got Frank on the phone, and he gave me some terrific advice. Well, take a big breath, make sure you do well, the chops are good, etc. No, he just said, Bill, just go out and play it. And that was the best advice I think anybody could have given me. And that's what I did. I just went out and played it. It wasn't so great. It wasn't as good as my rehearsal, but after 20 or so performances, it got a little bit easier. I don't think it ever got easy again, but it did get easier. I don't think I could do it now, but I'm pretty sure I couldn't do it now, actually. That's the kind of piece that you really, at least for me, I had to stay in shape and practice consistently. But anyway, getting back to endurance and my playing all the time to help build up my endurance, I found over the years that as I mentioned on the first talk on endurance, it's something you really have to do consistently. You have to practice, practice, and practice to get good chops. But I was just thinking about some of the things that I do now, and I mentioned before the Caruso studies, but another book that I found that's really great for putting your chops in the right place. It's one of those books and one of those kind of procedures that, it's just really a great book, is Jim Thompson's Buzzing Basics. It's one of those books I think every trumpet player should be acquainted with. It's, to me, one of those books that I pull out when I need some work on the fundamentals and the basics. And it's also good for building up chops. For example, let me play this one example I have of his from Jim Thompson's Buzzing Basics. It's published by BIM. Hopefully the balance on this will be all right, but here's one of the first exercises in Jim's book. Start it up again. exercise, and then I'd take it up a half a step. And I'd take that up a half a step. In other words, it was the long tone study that I just kept playing up by half steps. Same thing with the Caruso. And it relates back to the long tones, doesn't it? It goes back to that. But this is sort of a plug for Jim Thompson's book because I think it's so good. And also I admire his trumpet playing so much. He's just a great player. So that's a little more work on endurance, just a reminder that this is what you need to do if you want to get stronger. And it's not all that difficult, is it? Remember to work from a position of strength into an area of weakness and to keep blowing, and you'll get better. So that's enough for today. That's 6 minutes, and I can't believe how fast the time flies when I'm talking about these things. But thanks for listening, and I hope you have a great day and have fun with the trumpet. Bye-bye.